After my grandmother passed away, I returned to Haiching from my rural hometown to tie up loose ends and begin preparing for my wedding. Everything seemed to be falling into place, until the moment I walked into the wedding planning company, ready to book a lavish celebration. That's when the staff dropped a bombshell. The groom was already married. Ethan, the eldest son of the Shufu group, had tied the knot just 3 months ago, to Mei, the daughter of Beijing's mayor, who had been his childhood sweetheart. I stood in front of Ethan's grand villa, confused and stunned. But I am Mei, I thought. I'm the daughter of the capital's mayor. When I approached the gate, the butler didn't even let me inside. Mr. Ethan said. He told me coldly. Who would dare impersonate my wife? My wife grew up with him since childhood. How could he possibly mistake her? My cousin Lily, standing beside me, was furious. Tears welled in her eyes. Cousin, what's going on? She asked. Why are they saying you're an imposter? You and Ethan were betrothed from childhood. Isn't that why we came back, to prepare for your wedding? I silenced her with a look. This time, I had returned to Haiching early to handle the wedding arrangements. My parents were supposed to come with me, but work kept them busy, so I decided to come ahead of time. There were so many details to organize: venues, catering, guest lists. It made sense to get started early. But as soon as I arrived at the wedding planning company and began discussing ideas with the chief designer, everything changed. I showed her a photo of my fiancé from my phone, and her expression instantly darkened. Miss May, isn't this young Master Ethan? She asked cautiously. Yes, I confirmed. He's my fiancé. The designer's face twisted as if she'd tasted something bitter. But Master Ethan got married 3 months ago. We were the ones who planned that wedding. Froze. For 5 years I had been living in my hometown, taking care of my ailing grandmother, fulfilling my duty as a granddaughter. I hadn't returned to Haiching since then. Only after my grandmother passed did my mother call me back, urging me to return and prepare for the wedding. After all, our engagement had been arranged since childhood. We were both nearing 30. Delaying any longer wasn't an option. Now, faced with this shocking revelation, I went straight to Ethan's house to confront him. But I wasn't prepared for what awaited me. The arrogance of his family, the disdain in his eyes. It made me scoff. Can't you even recognize your own fiancé? He muttered. You'd better not be the one making the mistake here. Determined not to back down, I took my cousin Lily shopping at every high-end store in Haiching, and sent all the bills to Ethan's house. After all, the name on the credit was May, daughter of the capital's mayor. How could they deny it? By midday, Ethan's company was swarming with representatives from luxury brands, demanding payment. Mr. Ethan, one said, this is in your wife's name. You can't default on this. Of course not, another chimed in. Who doesn't know your wife's name? Is there anyone who'd dare impersonate her? Our store alone has 1 million in charges under her name, a third said. Please settle the bill. If you're short on funds, one added sarcastically, why not ask your wife to come back next month to pay? In the meantime, return that black pearl necklace. Another client is waiting for it. It's worth 600,000. Exactly, someone else scoffed. If you can't afford it, why let her go on shopping sprees? What's the point of buying if you can't pay? And remember, another reminded him, you're a public figure in Haiching. Everyone knows you. You wouldn't go back on your word, would you? I watched it all unfold from a nearby coffee shop, sipping my drink with a small smile. Ethan stood in the middle of the chaos, sweat glistening on his forehead, clearly overwhelmed. Then, a woman emerged from the building, dressed impeccably, radiating confidence. It was Ethan's wife, the May everyone in his household spoke of. She glanced at the stack of bills, shook her head, and calmly told the brand reps, "This isn't my signature. Someone is impersonating me." The sales representative raised an eyebrow. "If you say it's not your signature, then fine. I can say it with confidence," she replied, "because I grew up abroad. I can read Chinese, but I can't write it." Silence fell. Ethan tried to stop her, but it was too late. The crowd erupted. The daughter of the capital's mayor, renowned for her calligraphy, couldn't write Chinese? Just weeks ago, there were news reports about her calligraphy piece being auctioned at a charity gala. How could she suddenly not know how to write? She's just making excuses to avoid paying, someone muttered. Ethan jumped in, flustered. My wife misunderstood. She injured her hand recently. That's why she can't write. But of course she knows how to write. She's been surrounded by calligraphy since childhood. Then let Mrs. Ethan write her name, I said, stepping forward. Let's see if it matches the signature on the bills. That'll clear everything up. Everyone turned to look. Yes, they agreed. Let her write it. Ethan glared at me. Who are you? What does this have to do with you? This is a private family matter. I took a small step back. I'm just speaking up for fairness. Is that not allowed? His wife hid behind him. Honey, I really can't write. After a pause, she remembered Ethan's earlier excuse. I hurt my right hand. Smiled. Miss May has practiced calligraphy with both hands since she was young. Even if her right hand is injured, she can still write with her left. Exactly, someone said. You can't have hurt both hands. We saw you walking out just now holding things. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. I stepped forward. Lily, bring the pen and paper, please. Then, I reached into my bag and pulled out a piece of calligraphy I had written earlier in the coffee shop. I once bought a small piece written by May at an auction. This is her real handwriting. Don't mistake it. I handed it over. The writing was passed around. Everyone compared it to the signatures on the bills. The difference was obvious. Mrs. Ethan, I said calmly. Let's begin. Ethan's face turned dark. Who are you? Do you even know where you are to cause such trouble? This is none of your business. Leave. Lily stepped in front of me. What are you doing, Ethan? My cousin is just standing up for what's right. And now you're threatening her because you don't want to pay. Is there no justice left? The crowd rallied behind us. Pay up. You can't just ignore your debts. We'll see you in court. Mrs. Ethan finally snapped. Fine. I'll write it. She took the pen and paper and awkwardly scrawled the name May. The handwriting was clumsy, barely legible. Everyone looked at it, then at the elegant script on the auction piece. The difference was undeniable. I let out a quiet scoff. Mrs. Ethan will do anything to avoid paying. Who is she trying to fool? Someone murmured. Unless she's not May at all. Mrs. Ethan took a step back. Nonsense. I'm not May. Who are you? I'm the daughter of the capital's mayor. How dare you come here spouting lies? Someone throw her out. Don't let her dirty our family's name. Security guards rushed forward like wolves. Lily threw herself in front of me, but was shoved violently to the ground. Ethan shouted, bringing people here to cause a scene. What are your intentions? Mrs. Ethan stormed over, grabbed my mask and yanked it off. When she saw my face, a flash of jealousy crossed her eyes. Lily, now held by guards, screamed, Let go of my cousin. When my uncle arrives in Haching, you'll regret this. Mrs. Ethan slapped her across the face. Little slut, how dare you speak to me like that? I lunged to protect Lily, but a guard held me back. Rage burned inside me. Miss May, I said, your family has always been known for their humility and grace. Yet here you are, violent, unreasonable. And you call me the imposter. A smug smile curled her lips. I am Mrs. Ethan. And who are you? When the time comes, I'll have a serious talk with your parents about how they raised such a disrespectful child. In fact, she stepped forward. I'll teach you a lesson on their behalf right now. Before I could dodge, the guard tightened his grip. The next second, a hard slap cracked across my face. My cheek swelled instantly. From childhood to now, not even my parents had ever raised a hand to me, yet this impostor dared to strike me. Lily's eyes turned red with fury. Mrs. Ethan, do you have any idea who you just hit? You will pay for this. Mrs. Ethan sneered. Big talk. But if I cut your mouth open right now, what could you possibly do? I twisted free from the guard's hold and shouted. You're a fake. I am the real May, and I'm calling the police. The crowd exploded in chaos. Ethan, who had been watching silently, suddenly paled. He grabbed Mrs. Ethan's arm, but I took a few steps back and faced him. Mr. Ethan, I said, voice steady. You were engaged to May. Yet 3 months ago you married this woman and called her May. I have one question. When you registered your marriage, what name did you write on the certificate? Ethan staggered back, speechless. Mrs. Ethan stepped in front of him. I grew up with my husband since we were little. What does this have to do with you? I let out a cold laugh, then pulled out my ID card. It had my photo and, most importantly, my name clearly printed, May. I'm going to find a lawyer, I said. And I'm going to sue you for impersonation, for stealing my identity, for marrying into a wealthy family under false pretenses. The truth was out, and I wasn't going to let anyone erase me. The onlookers stood in stunned silence. It was as if a curtain had been pulled back, revealing something ugly beneath the surface. One person murmured, "No wonder Mrs. Ethan's handwriting was so strange." Another nodded slowly. I always thought any Chinese person should know how to write. It just didn't add up. Then it started to make sense, the wedding. No one from May's family had shown up. At the time, people had found it odd, but brushed it off. The ceremony itself had been surprisingly modest for someone like Ethan, the eldest son of the Shufu group. Just a few friends, no fanfare, no grand celebration. How could the son of the richest man in Haicheng have such a low-key wedding? Someone had wondered back then. Now the pieces were falling into place. Mrs. Ethan wiped her tears with a delicate silk handkerchief, her eyes glistening. We got married quietly, she said, voice trembling. I didn't want to make a big deal of it. I didn't want to affect my father's reputation. She looked around at the crowd, heartbreak in her gaze. I never thought I'd be standing here, being torn apart like this. No matter what I say now, you won't believe me. You'd rather trust this woman who just appeared out of nowhere. Or, her voice cracked, laced with accusation. Are you actually in love with my husband? Is that why you're doing this? Trying to ruin my life, take everything from me. She paused, her breath shaky. Don't you understand how important a woman's reputation is? Now, no one will believe a word I say. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe the only way to prove I'm not lying is through death. Before anyone could react, she turned and bolted toward the glass door. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Wait, what are you doing? Ethan lunged forward, catching her just in time. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably, her body trembling like a leaf in the wind. Ethan's face twisted with fury. He looked up, eyes blazing. Someone, he shouted. Grab that woman. She's spreading lies, destroying my wife's reputation. I want to see how bold she really is. Lily fought like a wildcat, thrashing against the guards holding her. Let go of me, she screamed. But 2 burly men slammed her to the ground, one pinning her while another slapped her across the face. Once, twice, hard enough to leave red marks. Where did this crazy woman come from? One of them growled. How dare she cause a scene here? The other guards turned toward me. My heart pounded, but I didn't back down. I pulled a pen from my bag and pressed it lightly against my neck. Don't come any closer, I warned, voice steady despite the fear clawing at my chest. I am the real May. And if anything happens to me today, my father will be back in 3 days. And he won't let any of you walk away from this. The guard hesitated, eyeing the pen. He didn't want blood on his hands. But Ethan wasn't backing down. His face was pale with rage. If I don't teach you a lesson now, he spat, everyone will think I'm weak. You're destroying my wife's name. What are you waiting for? Grab her. I'll take full responsibility. They rushed me. I slashed the pen across my neck, just enough to draw blood. It wasn't deep, but the sight of red spreading down my skin made them freeze for a split second. That was all they needed to overpower me. One of them wrenched my arm back, twisting it until I cried out. The pen clattered to the ground. I struggled, breath ragged. "Ethan," I hissed, "if you dare lay a finger on me, my father will make you regret it when he gets to Haching." "I'm not lying. She's the one who's impersonating me." Ethan smirked, cold and cruel. "We'll see if your father can save you in time." Then to the guards. "Give her a few slaps. Make it hurt. Let's see if she still dares to cause trouble after this." A woman in the crowd gasped. "That's too much. You can't just hit someone in public like that." Another pulled out her phone. "Quick, record it. Post it online. Let everyone see how Mr. Ethan thinks he's above the law." "Someone call the police," another shouted. "Look at her, she's so delicate. This is going to get ugly." I fought with everything I had, but two strong men held me firm. Then the slaps came, hard, stinging blows that snapped my head to the side. My cheeks burned, swelling instantly. Lily, still on the ground, screamed through tears. "Don't hit my cousin." But I could barely make a sound. My mouth opened, but only muffled cries came out. Ethan loomed over me, eyes dark. "I'm going to teach you a lesson today." The guards raised their hands again. I clenched my jaw, bracing for the pain, when suddenly a deep, commanding voice cut through the chaos like thunder. "Stop. Let's see who dares touch my daughter." Turn. Tears spilled over instantly. Finally, my parents had arrived. My mother rushed forward, arms wide. I collapsed into her, sobbing silently, the weight of everything crashing down. She held me tight, her hands trembling as she touched my swollen face. "Who did this to you?" she whispered, voice breaking. My father stood tall, still in his formal meeting attire, flanked by bodyguards and high-ranking officials from Haching. The crowd parted like water as he walked forward, his presence commanding silence. He stopped in front of Ethan, his voice calm but heavy with authority. "Mr. Ethan," he said, "you truly are impressive. Standing here in public, giving orders like your judge and jury. Telling people when to hit, when to speak, when to stay silent." Ethan's face drained of color. His legs wobbled slightly under the weight of my father's gaze. Then my father turned, his eyes locking onto the woman hiding behind Ethan. "I hear you married my daughter 3 months ago," he said, voice low. "Funny. I didn't even know I had a daughter out in the world." The crowd erupted in murmurs. My mother stepped forward, pointing at Mrs. Ethan. "You claim to be May, daughter of the capital's mayor," she said. "But now that her real parents are here, why aren't you stepping forward? Why are you hiding?" She let the words hang in the air. "Impersonating the mayor's daughter, for a fraudulent marriage worth millions. That's not just bold, it's a serious crime." People started whispering. "Can you believe this? Someone actually faked being May. And Ethan went along with it. What kind of man is he?" Mrs. Ethan trembled, her legs shaking like a sieve. My mother didn't let up. "Mrs. Ethan," she said sharply, "are you really May? Or are you someone's illegitimate daughter, hiding the truth from the world?" She shot a furious look at my father. That was the final straw. My father's face darkened. He stepped forward, pointing at her. "This is outrageous. My family's reputation, tarnished by some petty fraudster? I'm calling the police. You're being arrested. And we will find out exactly who you are." Ethan and Mrs. Ethan turned ghostly pale. "Mr. William," Ethan stammered, "it's a misunderstanding. It's absolutely a misunderstanding." My father let out a cold laugh. "Misunderstanding. I arrive one step too late, and my daughter is beaten, humiliated in public. And you call that a misunderstanding?" I wiped my tears and added quietly, "Who in Haching doesn't know that Mr. Ethan married May, the daughter of the capital's mayor? And yet here I am, an innocent girl, suddenly labeled a married woman. I wasn't even in this city, and my reputation is already in ruins. Mrs. Ethan dropped to her knees, clinging to Ethan. Honey, I don't want to go to the police station. What do we do now? She sobbed. My father was furious. My daughter, William's child, is being slandered, attacked, and you are crying? Ethan, realizing the tide had turned, shoved her aside without hesitation. She stumbled, crashing into the glass door with a cry. Mr. William. Uncle William, he pleaded, dropping all pretense. I was deceived too. I didn't know. She came to my door with an ID, said she had a fight with her family, nowhere to go. The documents looked real. She even explained the engagement, the history. I believed her. Kept my promise. I married her. I scoffed, disgusted. How ridiculous. You marry someone just because they show you an ID. What about household registration? Bloodline records? You really think a fake document is enough to prove who someone is? Ethan turned to me, suddenly soft. His eyes full of what he must have thought was sincerity. Miss May, I've always thought of you. When she came to me, crying, looking so much like you. How could I doubt her? Please, forgive me. I nearly gagged. The audacity. The shamelessness. Mrs. Ethan, still on the ground, scrambled up and rushed toward him. Husband, what are you saying? How can you believe her over me? But Ethan wouldn't look at her. He stood stiffly, then turned to my father, guilt and resentment warring in his expression. Uncle William. This wasn't my family's doing. This woman, she's a gold digger. Fraud. She tricked us. And now, she must be punished. The irony was almost too much to bear. Now that the truth was out, he was throwing her under the bus, just like that. But I wasn't done. Because the real punishment, that was just beginning. The air was thick with tension, the kind that makes your skin prickle and your breath shallow. I stood there, my cheeks still burning from the slap, my ID card trembling slightly in my hand. The crowd had gone quiet, all eyes fixed on Ethan, on Mrs. Ethan, on me. The three of us tangled in a web of lies, betrayal, and a name that suddenly meant everything. Then, just as the silence grew unbearable, a soft, almost musical voice cut through from the edge of the crowd. Actually, I'm May. Everyone turned. A woman stepped forward. Tall, graceful, dressed in a simple but elegant linen dress. Her hair was pulled back into a loose braid, and in her hand, she held a faded photograph. She didn't look like the May from the gossip columns or the luxury brand ads. She looked real, grounded, like someone who had been quietly living a life far away from all this noise. Ethan's face went from pale to ghostly white. The woman smiled faintly. You don't recognize me, do you, Ethan? We were engaged when we were 8. You promised me a paper ring. I kept it for years. She pulled a small, worn envelope from her pocket. Inside was a tiny yellowed paper band, carefully preserved. I was sent abroad after my mother passed, she continued. My father didn't want me involved in the family politics. He cut all ties. I didn't even know you'd been looking for me. She looked at me, then at the woman claiming to be May. And I certainly didn't know 2 women were fighting over my name. The crowd erupted. Lily, still on the ground, stared in disbelief. Wait, so none of you are the real May? The woman shook her head. I am. And I just flew in from Switzerland this morning. I saw the news. Asterisk, daughter of capital's mayor impersonated in lavish wedding scandal, asterisk. And I thought, that's my story. Ethan stammered. But you disappeared. We thought you were gone forever. And you didn't bother to look, she said gently, not with anger, but with sadness. Instead you let someone walk in, show an ID, and claim to be me. And you, she turned to the woman who had slapped me. You really thought a name was all it took to become someone else? The imposter, Mrs. Ethan, collapsed to her knees, sobbing. I just wanted a better life, she whispered. I saw the news about the engagement, about the Shufu group. I found old documents, changed a few details. I thought if I just became May, I could finally be someone. My father stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Then we'll sort this through the law. Identity fraud, false marriage registration, attempted extortion. There's a lot to answer for. As the police arrived and led the imposter away, the Réalme turned to me. You fought for a name that wasn't even yours, she said. Why? I wiped my cheeks, still stinging. Because May wasn't just a name to me. It was dignity. It was truth. And no one should get to steal that from someone else. She smiled, warm, genuine. Then, to everyone's surprise, she walked over to Ethan and handed him back the paper ring. Keep it, she said. But this time, earn it. And with that, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the afternoon light like a ghost from the past finally set free. As for me, I stood beside my parents, my cousin finally helping me up, her face bruised but her spirit unbroken. Ethan called out, "Wait, what about us? The engagement." I didn't turn. I just raised my hand, not in anger but in finality. The real May just walked away, I said. And I think that's the only answer you'll ever need. The camera pans out. Crowds dispersing, police cars pulling away, the Shufu Group building standing tall but somehow smaller than before. And somewhere in the distance, a woman with a quiet smile walks down the street, finally reclaiming a life that was never truly lost, just returned.